Hey everyone, I'm Purge and welcome to another anime update video. Before I get into what I've been watching, what I've completed, all that kind of good stuff, I'm going to talk about some list rule changes that I've decided to implement, and the list I'm obviously referring to is up next. Now, I realize this will probably be a bit of a 180 from what I was saying in the last update video, but I think this change is probably better. It's going to be better in the long run. So if you remember, those who watched last week's update video, I said that if I'm watching something and it has multiple seasons and the multiple seasons are short enough, I'll just go ahead and watch them without it being added to the up next list because I don't obviously want to like have the time in between watching the first season and then the next season and etc. etc. Well, I've actually completely changed that now, um, which is why this is here. But obviously we'll get to the up next editions in a bit. I've decided now to put every season of an anime, no matter how sort of long or short it is, onto the up next list, and then I'll choose it from the up next list instead. Which is why, because as you can see, I'm watching Mob Psycho 100 right now, and I've put Mob Psycho 102 there, which is second season. Now, of course, I use this as a prime example of me not going to do this. I said I would obviously watch the second season right after without putting it onto up next. Yeah, I'm not doing that now. So that's a complete 180 change right there. But I think to save me kind of going back and forth from whether to watch it now or later, I'm just going to put every um, subsequent season of an anime onto the up next list and choose it from there. Either actively choose it or randomly choose it. Now I know this might add, in some cases, quite a bit of time between seasons, but I don't think it will add that much time really. Considering if I wanted to say watch the second season of Mob Psycho 100, I could literally right after I watched it just pick the second season if I wanted to do that. So I'll watch it right after it anyway. Or I might, if I don't feel like watching it yet, I could watch something else. But yeah, um, so that is the actual major change. I'm just going to put every subsequent season of every anime I watch onto the up next list and then choose it from there when the time comes. So that's the list rule changes right there. Now let's get on to what I've completed since the last update. Last updated. So we're going to start from Here When They Cry. Yep, I finished Higurashi When They Cry. It's just a bit of a story synopsis. It's essentially a murder mystery um, where um, it follows this high school kid who moves to this rural village, and weird stuff starts happening. There's like mentions of a curse. There's a mention of like weird, odd, mysterious deaths. But yeah, it's essentially a sort of murder mystery type story. The the story, the way it's structured, is really really interesting. So it's broken up into these kind of short story arcs that last for a few episodes each, and in them the characters are the same, um, the location is the same, and most of the situation is the same. But then all the story events that happen in that arc are different. Sometimes it feels like a sort of complete reset. But as you go through each of these arcs, you get more information on the overall narrative, and it works quite well. Now, of course, um, when you first kind of start watching it, it's gonna be a bit confusing. It's gonna be a bit incoherent, but stick with it and trust me, it'll all become clear as time goes on. But yeah, it's a good story. It's got good characters, good animation for 2006. This is actually like a kind of old anime now, and it is pretty violent as well, and it's pretty gory. So if you don't like that stuff, um, you may have second thoughts about watching it. But I would really recommend this. So if you couldn't actually stomach all that, I would definitely give When They Cry a watch. Then right after, I watched the um, the OVA, the When They Cry OVA, which is a kind of side story to When They Cry. Um, that kind of just adds another little like small narrative to the um, the whole the whole story arc, and it's worth watching. It's pretty good too. Not as good as the actual series, but pretty good. I liked it. Then I watched, I started and finished Charlotte. Now, the only reason I started watching Charlotte is because it had a very tenuous link to Angel Beats. Now, it said it had a link to Angel Beats, and apparently the only link to Angel Beats was that a character in the show was watching Angel Beats on a TV, and apparently the appearance was so fleeting that I didn't even notice it. I just didn't notice it. But apparently that's the link to it, that somebody was watching it. Somebody was watching Angel Beats on a TV, and I think it was because um, the studio that produced Charlotte also produced Angel Beats, so they just referenced it in Charlotte. So there you go. Anyway, Charlotte is about a group of high schoolers who have special abilities, and their kind of job in the student council is to find other people, other high schoolers with special abilities, and either recruit them to help them or um, kind of ask them or force them to stop using their powers, because if they keep on using their powers and they get caught by this other group, then there will be consequences. Now, when I started watching it, I thought the story was okay. It was actually pretty good, but nothing special. And then about halfway through the series, the story takes a big turn and gets way better and way more interesting. So, to be honest, I would highly recommend Charlotte. The animation is good. The um, the characters are well done. They get like a sort of a lot of depth, a lot of development. The story gets really good actually. There's a lot of twists and turns, and the way quite a lot of the powers work, they're flawed, and um, in that respect, it's quite interesting to see how the powers actually work. And it's funny because that flawed power system in Charlotte kind of reminded me of another anime I watched called Darker Than Black, and Darker Than Black is also really, really good with a really, really interesting power system. But yeah, Charlotte, again, really good. Give it an 8. I would highly recommend it. Then straight after that, I watched the one episode OVA for Charlotte called Charlotte Strong People. Now, it's simply another, it could literally be another just another episode of the series, because um, the premise of the OVA makes it seem like it's set pretty early on in the series, maybe after episode kind of like 2 or 3, because of the situation they're in. Now, to be honest, you could actually even watch it after, say, episode 2 or 3, or you could actually like watch it after you finished series. But and I obviously watched it after I finished the series, but the OVA is good too. It's just another one of their. It's just another sort of little episodic story, and it is good. So that right there is everything I finished since the last update, and now we're going to go on to what I'm watching. Now, unfortunately, I haven't watched any Yu-Gi-Oh! Simply because I was concentrating on getting the last 5 anime done so I can actually get a sort of new 5 picked on the up next list. So I haven't watched any Yu-Gi-Oh! I will get back to it. It's kind of ridiculous how long I've been watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Um, I tell you, when I finish it, it's gonna be a celebration. Like, I'll say that. But yeah, haven't watched any Yu-Gi-Oh! Since the last update, but I'm determined to watch some this week. Anyway, then I started. Then I should say, but I did start, which was the last anime on my up next list of from the last update, Mob Psycho 100. Now I'm only 2 episodes into it, but already it's pretty darn good. Now it's very well liked. It's actually very popular, and the premise is pretty interesting. So this character here, he's in middle school. I think his name is Mob. I think that's a nickname though, and he has psychic powers, and he uses the psychic powers to um, vanquish evil spirits. And he works for a guy that is essentially a con artist that has no powers himself, and he uses a mob to um to basically like defeat the spirits for him and get money from his clients. Also, although this hasn't actually been mentioned yet, it turns out if mob's emotional capacity goes to 100%, something really really bad happens. But so far really it's like really wacky, really quirky. There's a lot of comedy in it. There's um, some action so far, some good um, action scenes so far, and a really kind of unique animation style that's also pretty interesting. But so far, I quite like it already, and I'm actually excited to watch more. So that's everything I've been watching, and now lastly we'll go on to up next editions. Now, as you can see, we've got a brand new lineup of 5 anime on the old up next list. So, firstly, we've got Flowers of Evil. Now, this is actually recommendation 18. As always, if I could speak, I randomly picked it from the recommended list, and it's apparently a romance psychological drama that's I think kind of dark. Um, but I have heard that it doesn't really have an ending, and I've been told that if I want an ending, I have to read the manga. So we'll see if I actually like it. I'll probably eventually um, do that. But yeah, that's Flowers of Evil. Romance, psychological drama, and apparently it's pretty good and pretty dark. So we'll see about that. Then we have When They Cry Kai, which is um, the second season to When They Cry, and a sequel to When They Cry. So obviously, I put it on up next. It's a given. I'm going to watch it because I really liked When They Cry. So yeah, When They Cry Kai um, is going to be watched pretty soon. Then we have Akudama Drive, which is apparently a kind of like action thriller cyberpunk like crime anime that's um, pretty hard hitting, pretty violent. So it sounds good. Looking forward to that one. Then we have 86, which is a mecha anime about people called the 86ers that like pilot these drones. They're fighting a war of some kind. That's all I really know about that. But sounds interesting. And lastly, of course, we have Mob Psycho 102, which is the second season of Mob Psycho, because as I said, no matter what, I'm putting every subsequent season of a anime they watch on up next. So there you go. Oh, I should also mention that I won't be putting sort of like OVAs on here, associated OVAs, and probably not movies either. I'll just watch those. But yeah, subsequent seasons up on up next. But yeah, that is everything for the up next editions as well. And that was a weird way to say it, but yeah, that's all my up next editions as well. So there you go. So there you go, folks. I hope you liked the video, and I shall see you next time. Bye for now.